Hello, everybody. Good evening. How is everyone doing? How are you feeling? Guess what? We are doing some more Bretts. It's as Monday would suggest. Oh, my camera is a little bit off, regardless of any attempts. But it is what it is. Anyway, how are you today? Anything of new? Anything of old? Anything at all? How is everyone feeling? Okay, might as well get this show on the road. So we're gonna start off with probably the only set of eyes for this band, unless it could probably. Nah, let's get these at some point, maybe. But for now, Yeah. So he's going to be quite the cartoony character, apparently, unfortunately. Not much that I can do about it. It's not cross-eyed, which is a good start. Yo, Naki, what up? Just painting some eyes, because, you know, who doesn't like painting eyes? Working. Well, here's hoping that it's a productive, or at least calm. Just another day. No extra stress, no problems. Yeah, as long as it's just within the sometimes region, I think it's alright. I don't know, with time, I started drawing the line in my ambitions and started favoring comfort and routine and a little bit of certainty above some things being too interesting, so to speak. Doing fine, thank you. Today is the first snow day that we've had this year, so it's a bit of a change of scenery, but apart from that, yeah, I do too. Um, it does make some logistics a little bit harder, but it is definitely a prettier sight. But yeah, apart from that, nothing much. I will be having my birthday this week, so I'm probably gonna skip Wednesday's stream. Whoa, 70 centimeters. Holy shit. Oh, wow. That's a lot, dude. Yeah, I can imagine. And now everyone is like, well, why did I forget to put on my winter tires? Uh, naturally, All of the car shops that perform this service will now be overrun with people who have forgotten to do their due maintenance. Yeah. Honestly, at least around here, even if people do realize it, they will still do it. As a matter of fact, what happens here is the opposite. So during the warmer months, people would use public transportation and bikes and whatnot. And as soon as it gets rainy and cold or snowy, that is when most people get their cars out, which is an even bigger problem because when you haven't driven for a year, it's a bit harder to get into the flow of it, and it's even more prone to accidents. But here's hoping, with all the lockdowns and stuff, this transitionary period is a bit calmer this time around. But we'll see. Oh, like work-wise? Work-wise, so what is currently my job title is sort of a administrative assistant for clinical trials for a company that helps pharma companies do their trials. A bit of a jack of all trades kind of thing. Mainly doing whatever the qualified positions can be bothered with doing. Ah, shit. That's pretty much it. Yeah, no, it's nothing flashy. Just mainly data grinding, crunching reports, that sort of stuff. In theory, it's pretty okay. It's pretty solid, but there are uh, the occasional spikes, volume or intensity that really go too well. But we deal with each fire as it comes. What about yourself, if you're okay sharing that, of course? Meanwhile, trying to get these eyes to look decent. Very successfully. Nice! That is, at the very least, very stable. Like, a very stable general direction to go into. I am a little pissed off at myself that I didn't... I didn't decide to specialize. IT, but back then it really wasn't a big deal. Like it didn't have the spread that it has today. As it would have helped me so much. But oh well. Have to deal with the cards I have in my hand. Yeah, there is a part of me that actually envies cases like this where you know the direction you're headed in early on, so sufficiently early on so you can start investing and organizing your certifications and your proficiencies and your experience in the field and whatnot. I really didn't have any clue, not even the general direction. It was sort of luck that steered me into this direction. Which did work out for the best. I'm not saying that it didn't, but still. It does feel a little bit too random. Can I clean up this eye without ruining everything around it again? Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be a gamble at all, it just sort of happened. That's the weird part of it. Supposed to be something temporary, and it just sort of grew into this. I started off as like a call center, general IT support, you know, that thing. Then I moved to the company, Yeah, that's exactly it. And considering we are a little bit of a more backwards country, you can imagine that the global trends reached us a little bit late and a little bit unprepared. But anyway, it is what it is right now, and to make do with whatever it is. Anyway, it's definitely an alright job. I'm not hating it. Just a little bit against how randomly it happened, but alright. How many guys left to paint? Well, this is the second batch of 4, which will lead me to 8 out of a total of 19. However, I am currently base coating the 3rd and 4th batches off stream. Oh, absolutely. It is absolutely, like, knock on wood. I ain't hating that. So I'm base coating the next 6 guys that I'll paint in batches of 3. And then I'll have 4 of these peasants left, and the ogre. So quite a ways to go, but with decent... Yeah, so since this will be not just... I won't use them just for Bretonnians, but also for the new Imperial Nobility team that has come out with the new edition of the rules. The nobles actually have throwers, so I do paint these guys. I did get them to be the throwers, and also they have a ogre. Let me show you which one I picked up. This is the ogre that I got from... It's the same team. It's the Grebo Florence Knights that I'm using. Oh yeah, he will be painted last. No, the company that makes all of these models that I'm painting right now is called Grebo Games. They are located in Florence, Italy, and sort of specialize in being third-party Blood Bowl miniatures manufacturers. and some of their teams can be used for multiple races or teams in the game. For instance, the dudes that I'm painting right now can be used as either Bretonians or humans, which is why they have the ogre and the throwers and also catchers in the same style. I did, however, only pick up the Bretonian side of the models and got a few expansions to cover the throwers and the ogre. They also have a good lizardman team and a lovely chaos team. Um, Amazons, very very lovely Amazons. Can't remember. They started usually. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Especially for Blood Bowl, there are a ton. Oh yeah. Uh, Due to the fact that Blood Bowl was discontinued by Games Workshop in the start of the 2000s, but the game itself continued to move on for the decade or so of lack of official support. A lot of companies sprouted, designing and manufacturing Blood Bowl models. And right now there are about, I don't know, maybe 2 dozen of them, like 2 dozen companies just making fantasy football minis. Which is pretty cool because you can actually have sort of unique and not very um, commonly found models. My dwarves, for instance, the ones that I'll probably be painting like next or next, second to next team. There are only about 200 of those because it was a very small Kickstarter. And they're pretty cool, like steampunk Iron Man style dwarves. And I'm fairly certain that very few people will ever have them. So if I go to a tournament with them, there's a high chance that they will be fairly unique. And that's kind of cool when you have the choice and the variety and whatnot. Okay, how do I make you look more human? Yeah, Greybow's minis are awesome. The only problem is that with their last couple of Kickstarters, they kind of went off the deep end scale-wise and sort of left scale creep really kick in. Ooh, their undead are kind of old now. They're pretty old at this point, so they will probably re-release them and redesign them in some way. With the Games Workshop Necromantic, they actually overdo it. Is the thing. Their orcs are significantly larger than the GW orcs. Like chunkier and beefier by quite a margin. But they look gorgeous, so it's a bit weird. I don't mind it too much because it's not. Blood Bowl is not a game that relies on actual scale. Like, it's not that it opens up line of sight or anything like that. But I think they went a bit too far. I don't know. This is how it looks on pictures. I actually haven't seen any of their lizardmen or orcs in real life. But just based on the pictures, you can kind of guess that they are bit larger than they should be. But anyway, but they're good. They're cool models, and if I hadn't been collecting bits for converting for conversion, because I have a big plan for my orcs. Yeah, they're just a lot chunkier. Like the models themselves, they are the same height. Like they do conform to 32 millimeters, but you can see that they're larger models. Like 32 is a scale and not necessarily uh, the actual size. You know, the ogre that I showed you, this ogre, he is in 32 millimeter scale, which means that he is in a scale where a normal human would be 32 millimeters tall. Do they? I don't know. For Blood Bowl, their models for Blood Bowl are larger than usual. Although with the Primaris, yeah, heroic refers to proportions and not size. So this is heroic scale as opposed to true scale, which means the proportions of heads and hands is different. You can still have heroic scale, like heroic proportions, in larger and smaller scales. It's not necessarily related. Um, the reason for heroic scale in general is due to technical limitations for casting that no longer really apply. But back when it was a thing, um, they introduced heroic scale so that they can make the heads and hands bigger so they can have some extra detail and make it actually paintable instead of just having a blob of paint. Yeah, maybe. And with the new edition of 40K, I think that they have overdone it a little bit. Like the new edition is the new Necrons, I think, are close to the Primaris in terms of scale, and it is definitely not 28 mil, like not by a long shot. That isn't a bad thing though. Yeah, it is true 28 mil and it's true scale as well, which is one of the reasons why I'm actually a little bit afraid to paint most of Infinity. Because the models are really finely detailed. Are fairly hard to paint. Yeah. Like the larger things, the tags, tactical armor gears or whatever it was, they're really cool. But the rest, you have to have a really steady hand to bring out the actual prettiness of their models, especially considering the whole anime vibe. Like, you need to be crisp in that. You can't muddy it up. It doesn't come out as well as like GW. You can weather to hell and back with rough dry brushing and stuff. Infinity just doesn't look good if you go with technical approaches to painting. But apart from that, the models, especially some of them, are beautiful, and I would really want to get some of them. just for painting. But yeah, bit on the difficult part. I am, however, holding back on models to just paint, considering I have models for games that I should start playing at some point. Yeah, it's kind of realistic, kind of sci-fi, and based on an artwork that is heavily inspired by manga and anime. So it's very clean somehow. And that cleanliness does lead to some models looking a little bit on the generic side of things, as opposed to some who look very standoffish. Like, some models have a lot of character and some are a little bit generic, which is why I constantly say some of their stuff. But even the generic ones still look fantastic quality-wise. And design-wise, they are always very clean and shiny sci-fi. Yes, yes. And this is why Angel Peralda's makes exclusive work with an airbrush when he painted his Infinity. Like, you know, he released a whole book just on painting Infinity models. I think that actually he made my two, I think. Published 2 books. And that is precisely the point. Being able to create very smooth gradients and then refine the details with brush. Yeah, it's all pretty much all reflective surfaces. There isn't a lot where you can just grunge it up. Oh, they are a little bit on the daunting side. But as much as they are daunting, they're also very alluring. And I do wish that I did get into Infinity when it sort of started. So I would have some extra incentive to paint them. Because Infinity is actually maybe the second biggest community for played games here. After, well, I put 40k and AOS on the same gradient, but on the same scale, on the same place. So that was definitely an option, but I just missed the initial boom about them, so to speak. My biggest gripe with the game itself is that it advertises itself like a low model count game, but in reality it isn't. Because while you do play the actual game with a few models, the way that you build your lists depending on what kind of enemy, kind of an opponent you're playing. List building requires you to have actually a huge amount of models. Like arguably mid-tier War Machine amount of models, maybe more. Because it's a lot of rock, paper, scissors kind of thing. And the new releases are always made in this way. So you need to pick up the latest scissors to counteract the latest paper for the opponent's faction, if that makes sense. So you're actually constantly buying models, which is why I decided not to get into it. If I had gotten into it when it started, it would have been a more gradual accumulation of models, but now it's gonna be a bit much. By the way, don't mind the fact that it's looking so grotesque right now. I'm going to glaze the fleshy bits down, but I do want to get some good value sketches here. Oh, you mean because whatever's current will be the one that's being played, and I don't have to backtrack for older models? Yeah, maybe you're right. Time will tell. Like, I'm currently just focused on getting the Blood Bowl teams painted. And maybe some Necromunda stuff. Yeah, you're right, you're right. Could look into it, I guess. But with my gaming group, we are currently, well, first focused on Blood Bowl. Secondly, we are trying to expand into Necromunda, possibly Warcry, and possibly what was the thing? Mordheim. So, and that's going very slowly, and I don't think we've ever played any game with under any other rule set, so that is true, yeah. Unless you go kill team. I think that so there have been a few rumors regarding kill team in the new edition. Like some people say that GW will scrap the whole kill team thing, and others think that there will be another edition with the new edition of what was it, edition 9 or 10? Which one is it? Damn it, I knew this. 9th, I think it's 9th edition now. Yeah, you're right. But they've been making things kind of decent lately. While an entirely new edition for Blood Bowl wasn't the most important thing, it did bring in some bonuses, and they have been doing pretty good with Necromunda releases. Although they did scrap uh, what was like a test edition, I guess. Yeah, that is a bit shoddy where you invest, you get your shit, and then in a year's time, they just scrap everything. And it would have been okay if they had a more accessible way to distribute their rulebooks. But the rulebooks themselves are one hell of a financial investment. And that's what kind of messes with me. And they still do tons and tons of mistakes in those rulebooks, which, considering the price point, is just unacceptable. And I can totally get how this can very much um, repulse you from the game. Yeah. The new stuff is good because it does shake things up a bit. Because playing the same meta for 20 years is it just does get kind of stale and boring. So breaking things up like they did is just generally a good idea. I just think they maybe should have waited about a year or so to do it. Instead of rushing the one that they're currently releasing. Because they didn't get all of their Spike magazines out that they prepared for. They didn't release the full number of teams that they wanted to release for that edition. So it kind of feels like they kind of rushed it by about a year. Don't know what caused this, but so now they have to catch up, which is why they're releasing the rulebook with a Spike magazine right off the bat. I don't know. It's a bit dodgy. And I'm fairly certain they might do this to Necromunda as well by the time we start playing. That'll be not very fun. At the same time, other games are just flat out dying. Like Guild Ball was cancelled. Support was cancelled for it a few months ago. And from what I understand, it had a small but very active community. Kind of sad to see a game go like that. Guild Ball. It was something like Blood Bowl, but with even smaller model counts that have nothing to do with any sport-looking thing. And it was played out like a regular miniatures war game, like with tape measures and stuff. And their models are cool, but to me, they really just don't speak sports game. They are cool, and I've been looking for any and all opportunity to proxy them into something that I play. But so far, I haven't been able. do so. I will, at some point. I'm waiting for the Fraggin' Unicorns stuff to start shipping. Well, they didn't believe in them, which is why they scrapped them at the turn of the century. Like all the Mordheims and the Necromundas and the Gorkamorkas and Inquisitor and Battlefleet, all of those. And then they started to reintroduce them, and woe and behold, that actually proved to be very successful. But the problem is, they didn't really know how to modernize these games, which is why their initial runs with the big starters kind of got scrapped, which didn't sit well with the fans of the franchises. And yet now it's okay, but if you actually bought into the rules back then, you'd be very justifiably pissed off. From alternating activations, so have you heard of Dread Ball? Sort of Mantic's alternative to Blood Bowl. That is a... So it's... The setting is sci-fi, although that's not what's important here. It's a smaller version of Blood Bowl, and that is a game where you do have alternating activations. And I don't necessarily like that. I've seen a few demo games being played, and it kind of limits what you can do during your run, during your turn. Like, generally, I'm always a bit iffy on the whole alternating activations thing. I like the concept, but I've never seen it implemented in a way that makes gameplay better. And it's weird, I don't know. I support it as a concept, but I haven't seen it realized well yet. Maybe Riot Quest. I think Riot Quest does it well, but it's a completely different scale of a game. Like, it's a lot more board game than it is miniatures game. But it does work there. I don't know. Very weird. But yeah, you can look into... I think Mini Wargaming did a few demo games. I'm almost certain Guerrilla Games would have video if you can stomach it. Because Ash's stuff is a bit hard to follow. And you can sort of look how it would have, because it mainly works similarly. It has 3 touchdowns per side instead of the 1, and has 1 touchdown with touchdown zone. It's more like basketball with different hoops giving different amount of points. But having that few models and having to activate only one at a time, it just really limits you tactically to what you can set up to do. It becomes more like a tic-tac-toe kind of thing. I don't know. At the same time, chess alternates activations, if you think about it, and that works well. But when dice are involved, I don't know. Hello, Hubert. What's up? Yes, that is true. Yes, absolutely. It does mitigate this huge snowballing effect that if something like the death spiral effect is lessened with alternating activations. But then again, that depends on whether or not you consider that a feature of the game or a detriment of it. Yeah, true, true. But with the alternating activations, if you can replay the same model multiple times across your turn, just limits a lot of the actual variety of models and what you would do with them. Again, it's a very weird thing, and I don't think I have a solid stance on it. It was very, very deeply explored by Beasts of War, which are now on tabletop. There was a certain point in time where they tried to apply alternating activations to every game. Like any game system, they would just try to implement it and see how it works. And it was weird. Like sometimes it went better than others. And also most of the games that came out at that time have alternating activations. What came out back then. So the initial runs of Wild West Exodus and what else? The steampunk game. Wolsung had alternating activations. I don't know, maybe sevens would work well in that style, not the standard 11s. That might be interesting and would definitely bring even more of a variety and diversity in the gameplay if one of the variants utilizes this. Yeah, Cadvalon does sell them. Yeah, yeah. I did tell you that, I think. But I don't. But they are not the original Rackham stuff. They are the reprints, I think. because there was a semi-successful Kickstarter to reinvigorate, sort of restart the line with the old models. But yeah, they are there. Nice. Yeah, Rackham stuff is gorgeous, like hands down. It does, however, hybrid. Yeah, but like I said, this is not the original ones or leftovers. They are a new reprint, and I think someone commented that quality of the casts is a bit inferior to the originals, but I can't confirm or deny those. Hybrid. What is hybrid? Take a quick look. Doesn't speak anything. Hybrid. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Ooh. Let's have some sweet stuff. Look at that. Nice. And yeah, you can see the setups here. Standard, like, dungeon crawler. Looks nice. Indeed, indeed. Like, I've said this many times before, French companies, both for software development and miniatures, really know how to push their designs. Like, they really make things that are pretty, like, aesthetically pleasing. Always. Mechanically, maybe not so much, but sufficiently good design-wise to carry them around, carry them over. Yeah, yeah. And I think the people who were into board games during the Rackham's initial run for Confrontation can attest to that. Like, for what I understand, it was Rackham that pushed Games Workshop to up their casting quality. But they overturned Rackham because Rackham was manually sculpted. And it was just very expensive and very slow to produce models that way. And at the same time, people stopped playing Confrontation because the rules were shit. Or at least, again, that is only rumors that I've heard around, so that kind of makes me iffy on what hybrid would be. I don't know. But definitely models-wise, if you're looking for something cool to paint, like their werewolves are just one of a kind, and they have very nice, highly stylized orcs and creatures that are just amazing to play around with. Yes, pretty much. 2004. Holy shit, that's old. But yeah, I can see. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Speaking of dungeon crawlers, I am waiting on the Wolfenstein board game to start shipping out. There is plenty of time until that, so they announced it's gonna be next August. But it is gonna be a bunch, a huge amount of models and stuff, and it might make for a pretty fun shoot bang dungeon. Well, let me show you. Pretty much, it looks pretty much the same as Hybrid does. Like, you, again, lay out random tiles and corridors. You have encounters. I think you have some three-dimension, some verticality to the maps, because they do have some 3D printed pieces of terrain. Um, Not sure. The way I see it, it's gonna be something similar to the Gears of War board game by Fantasy Flight, which was a very, very fun, both gameplay and design-wise perspective. Where the separate dungeons were sort of pre-built out of the tiles that you have, and they tie into a campaign of sorts. So you have sometimes asymmetrical deployments, like the different characters start at different places on the map and all that. I think they're gonna play around with it for Wolfenstein as well. But I'm not sure. I haven't seen anything, but the amount of models is what kind of pushed me over. Also, the license, of course. Wolfenstein is something we've all grown akin to, and it would be fun to see it in miniature form. And it has a Mecha Hitler that I need to paint. Like old school Wolfenstein 1 levels of mecha stuff. Right. Let's use blending and sort of get done with the flesh finally. Yeah, yeah. I mean, pretty much. I had. How do I say this? I haven't seen a lot of uh, dungeon crawlers that don't look like this laid out. No, I don't think it's gonna be a lot of um accounting. You probably just have your cards, and I don't even think you manage equipment based on what I've seen on prototypes of the cards. Death by token bookkeeping, yeah. It can go a bit overboard. Indeed. So I've played a couple of such close to such games. I've played the aforementioned Gears of War thing, and I've played the initial edition, the first edition of Aliens vs Predator, before it had the rules for a skirmish game, when it was still board on the board with. But that was more of a deathmatch kind of thing. and it was very tokeny, and it was kind of not very fun to play in the first edition of the board game rules. Um, on the other hand, the Gears of War thing was very well done, and I still keep talking about it. Firstly, because I haven't painted the models in it yet, and secondly, because it really is done pretty interestingly, and it's pretty light. Yeah, it is a rare but very welcome sight when a games manufacturer realizes its mistakes and builds to improve with future editions instead of muddle up things even worse. Oh, yeah, that's thick. Shower time. I guess I'll have to go back in again then. Okay, I think that's enough. More than enough. Now let's go to brown. We can hit all it in. We'll need to do a few touch-ups. Base coat. I'll start with this guy just because I'm know what needs to be fixed, and of course I fucked up. painty today. I don't know. So kind of going for more of a narrative stream today. Now and again, you just get those days where paint just isn't flowing off the brush the way you want it to. And so what happens in these cases is either you decide to push through and end up pretty much screwing things up if you don't feel them, as weird as that may sound, or you can just take a step back and reassess the situation and go back into it. And that's kind of what I'm doing, and obscuring this process by interacting with chat and all that, kind of trying to get my shit together. But yeah, granted, it's not an easy task either way to do all of the things at the same time, especially without a monkey. Yeah, yeah. Or what I would usually do is do base coating on other batches of models. But since I'm probably not gonna do a stream on Wednesday to actually move these guys forward, I opted to do at least some work on them. Petting the monkey is extra. Yeah, even though it's pretty much a paint by numbers project, you just still need a little bit of creativity juice to flow. It'll be fine. By the way, this is the new face cam that I'm currently using. Direct your attention there. And it was exactly what I feared it would be. Thanks, dude. So it's exactly what I was worried Because I got a 4K camera for the new one, the one that you're seeing right now for the face cam. And it's a lot better. So it's too good to be a face cam, but the color depth and the color range is too shit to use it as a paint cam. So it's kind of a not very efficient purchase. It also has a very much a larger uh, range, like angle. I have cropped it a lot on both sides. It basically covers most of the room if it's not cropped, which has a lot of potential, but not for the type of stream that I'm doing here. And I did want to use it for, instead of the C922 for painting, but unfortunately it just doesn't have the colors for it. And it doesn't have any focus or exposure settings. No, it's just a limitation of the lens. It doesn't have the color depth that the C922 does. I played around with it for a good few hours, trying to punch everything through. And right now, the way that you're seeing it on the face cam, this is with the absolute amount of exposure and contrast before it starts disrupting the image. And you can see that I appear pale as a ghost. Yeah, actually that would be very good because like I said, it has a very wide angle um, of recording, and it would more easily capture a larger portion of the board. And because of the higher resolution, it's going to make things a lot more crisp. So yeah, that is actually a good point. Really a very good point. There is an idea in the works to try and record some, to stream maybe even, some Blood Bowl games on tabletop. That would require a little bit more experimenting. Nice. Oh, it's alright, dude. Like, if you haven't seen me play Blood Bowl 2 on stream, well, you'd know that I'm a pretty piss poor coach. I just like the game very much. Yeah, it is something that I'm looking into. Occasionally have and do every now and again. as well as maybe try out new games that we get. And it does have potential. We could also make some localized tutorials for Blood Bowl, like short videos in local language for any new members of the group that don't feel comfortable or just prefer to have the rules localized. Stuff like that. And toxic comments in Heavy Rush. Honestly, when you joined, you had neither a heavy accent nor were your comments toxic. I don't know what you mean. It was more like shitposting than it was being toxic. Get faded. Yeah, it's pretty cliched. It works flawlessly. Just go for classic prejudice on this. You'll be spot on. And the reason he's saying it is that Bulgarian has very similar melodics to Russian. We are Slavic languages. And so the accent that carries over into other foreign languages is kind of similar to Russians, but naturally a lot less widespread, so more of a yeah. So we are fairly close. Yes. Some. So, from my sort of limited experience at work, Norwegian and Finnish are closer in terms of accent than, let's say, Danish and Swedish. Of course, it could just be. It varies from person to person, so it's kind of hard to make such a generalization. But that's kind of the overall way that I feel about it. It's not about necessity, it's about how it most often rolls out when you're not focused on mitigating it. Pretty much the basis, I think. Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. It is just an interesting topic. I'm not throwing any stones around. Just my thoughts and musings on the matter. You know, because like I said, I did work for a good what three-ish years, cumulative in call center for IT support, and it was global service desk. So I literally got calls from all over the world, and anyone who wanted to use the English line or the French line ended up with me. So I just have uh, a decent amount of experience with different accents. Monolith Death Cult. Nope. Can't say I have. What are they like? Ooh, that sounds nice. Are they thematically similar to Sabaton, or do they have their own shit? Historic metal as well. Okay. Might give them a shot. Because this playlist is gonna end soon. Can give them a shot. See what they're all about. I can check them out. For sure. Alright. I have 4 more songs in this playlist, and then we can move along.
Let's light it up until our hearts catch fire.
Classic death is in the band or the style? All right, gotcha. Okay, I'm game for some classic death. Are we talking like Florida School? Or not so much American? Like old Napalm Death and stuff like that? Or is it closer to the newer stuff? Anyway, we'll give it a listen in just a few songs. Yeah, no worries. Again, we'll give him a shot. Yeah, the classic one does come off a little bit boring tonight. But the more modern stuff and everything that has a death and a little bit of hybridization, I do enjoy quite a bit. Anything with melodic segments or industrial segments, kind of to kind of break up a little bit the grungy thing. The only exception to that is probably gothic metal, which is kind of death, but it just works to be. It has some harmonics to it. Yeah, yeah. Again, that is just how I roll. It's not this is good or this is bad, just personal preference. I did find a new Swiss band, and for whatever reason, in my experience, there are very few Swiss bands in general, but all of them are insanely good. Or at least have gotten my attention. Bands like Cybreed or Samael and Coroner. And even though I don't massively like thrash metal, Coroner really went in well. And it is, as it turns out, a Swiss band. And the new one was called Deathicum. Shit, I forgot. I don't think they even have a full album out yet. But we can give them a shot as well if you'd like to, because I've followed them and it wouldn't be too hard to find out who the hell they were. Because I did get some suggestions on Facebook for them. Check them out. AMD? Not sure about the AMD. The old, so the 90s thrash metal. Yeah, these the same ones. I think they have what, a few albums, very few albums in the start of the 90s. They're pretty cool. Yeah, no worries. This sounds like Gangster's Paradise. Because it is. Okay. That's an interesting cover. By a band I've never heard before in my life. This is the kind of shit you get when you listen to this stream. What are the odds? Yeah, I didn't see the name of the song. I was just looking at the name of the band and confused it for the song name. And just by the starting sounds, it reminisced a lot. Then I realized I just saw wrong. Being focused on two screens and a miniature, it kind of happens. You do once in a while make observational mistakes. Alright, let me just see what the hell it was that I... Right. Idea. Okay. Shit. Chaosium is the name. Oh, they do have a couple of albums. Not bad. 2018, 2019, although that is a live CD, it would appear. Okay, so two albums. Alrighty, dude. Thank you for joining and chatting along. Have a lovely rest of your evening. And see you soon. Meanwhile, we are on to dude number 2. So I'm just gonna do this single highlight on the browns. And then I'm gonna go over all of the surfaces that have not been properly textured yet with Screaming Skull. Do whatever. But that ain't gonna be today. Today we're just gonna make sure that we are done with the initial highlight for the browns. Alright, now let's give Chaosium a listen, and then we'll go over to Monolith, the Death Cult. See what they're all about. Sounds like Korn. That's not what I'd listen to. Odd. Still, not bad. Don't know how much of this is going to survive after the wash. You bring it up again. Problem, of course, being that it'll just be more time. But I think going with Screaming Skull for these textures as well is going to be pretty much enough. Work things out. Alright, let's check out. Death Code. There you are. Dead 3. Triumvirate. If we get that. Oh, there it is. 2008. They're very Death Clock-wise. Death Clock-like. Not a bad thing. They definitely have a symphonic aspect to them. So they're not like classic, old school death. Oh, and some electronics in there. Oh, that's bold. I actually like it. Nice. This is very good. Yeah, they're definitely good. Let's see what the fans associate with this band. We got Benign, Decapitated, not to be confused with Cattle Decapitated, Blood Red Throne, Abyssal Dawn, Hour of Penance, Hate Eternal. Honestly, nothing I've heard. Misery Index, Aborted, Cryptopsy, God Dethroned. Oh, those I know. That's about it. Interesting. The Monolith Death Cult hold the conviction that death metal has reached a ceiling in terms of speed. This is why the Monolith Death Cult has decided to broaden the genre by inserting previously not done elements into the style, adding to the brutality and speed. They don't make artist-centered music and won't gorge on technicalities only trained ears would hear and appreciate. I'm okay with that. Oh, okay. I can't really hear the themes, but oh wow, okay. The goal to broaden their extreme death metal with influences from techno, dance, and industrial music. Yeah, we can definitely hear that. Completed with Wagnerian classical pomposity. Yeah, there is. If you've seen, can't remember which part of Metalhead, A Headbanger's Journey, or whatever it was called. It is stipulated that Wagner is actually the first metal band, metal writer, metal composer, because of the some of the bass that he introduces in his works.
Führer! Die erfolgreichsten Panzerjäger der Berliner Hitlerjugend angetreten!
Is this the one? Mhm. Nice. Yeah, it is fresh. I like the sound. And I like the bio that I read, the one about them not trying to go overly technical and emphasize on easier to listen styles introductions such as industrial and techno electronic elements. It's possible, yeah. It is just what Spotify showed me, but it's a copy from something. Either their wiki or their official page. I don't know. Never! Keep moving on. For at least a while. Like, we are at 2.5 hours right now. I'm gonna try for 3 hours, so about 30-ish more minutes. And then if we have any more people, I'm gonna raid someone and call it. But for now, we can just enjoy some more tunes as I finish up with these highlights here. I'm usually aiming at the 3 hour mark. It's just recently I've been able to start a little bit earlier and end a little bit earlier. The bases, nothing special. Sterling mud as a texture, and then just grass flocking, but it'll be a patchy flock. So I'm not gonna cover all of the base. It's gonna be just splotches and paste and patches of grass here and there. And I will draw the white lines as well, the white pitch lines. Patchy. Yeah. I've never tried it. It's pretty much the same thing. You just keep the PVA glue drops uh, more controlled, like in smaller spaces. Should work out. So what more do we have here? Mostly just the head. Alright, and I think that's pretty much it for the Browns. We do have 120-ish more minutes. So I'm gonna do some base coating. Just get the little dudes out. I'll finish up some base coats. The next batches. But first, another break. That's right. 2 in a row. Alright, so be right back. And I'm back. So just gonna paint in the green on these couple dudes from the next batch. Because we are going into crisscross patterns now. Because the clean verticals have been exhausted. And then I have 4 more peasants, so it'll be another cycle through all of the options. Let's check something out. A little bit of a switch. Bring things down slowly. Oh yeah, indeed. No, It just doesn't cope too well with painting for whatever reason. I don't know. We checked out both bands, and I think that's a cool thing. We'll definitely move all over the place until Twitch or someone places the ban hammer. Lightning issued a massive strike in my ass. No one yet, but I am pushing the limits. Saying that I'll keep up music diversity on the stream until I do get a stern talking to. Yeah, I think I'm good as long as I don't go for the poppiest of songs. Like, it's still a thing that Time Warner and Universal are pretty much the only ones really hitting the strikes. And it also has to be an unmuted VOD or a clip. It reminds me, I need to turn off clips just in case. Yeah, pretty much. That is basically it, yeah. Although I've had some issues with some 90s alternative bands. Yeah, no worries on that front. Now this is a very bad prime job, what you're looking at right now. You can see how much texture. I don't know what I did. Get this pretty horrible texturing from the primer, but before the sellout. Isn't that usually the case? But in this case, since the name of the game is texturing, doesn't hurt me that much. I don't need to strip and re-prime the model. But I did go. Yeah, well. Can you really blame them though? given the opportunity. You're not big into art to begin with. If someone comes in and offers you a shitload of cash, people, people will be hard pressed to say, no, thank you, not for me. Yeah, yeah, I got you. I got you. I don't know. I haven't really listened to a lot of her stuff in order to be able to comment. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Pretty much. I see what you mean. Okay. So here's an interesting conundrum regarding base coating. Most people will suggest the use of synthetic brushes to do your rough base coats. But what I've come to find out recently is that using a softer brush is actually a lot more pleasant and gets things done a lot better than stiff synthetic. Now, if you were to find a soft synthetic, then yeah, possibly. But yeah, exactly. A large old sable is something that I've come to use late of late, and I've been a lot more happy with how it goes, just in terms of feel, as opposed to a rougher, stiffer, cheaper synthetic. At the very least, because it allows you to get a smoother surface, because a synthetic will more often than not dig into the, just stare at the paint. because of how stiff it is. I'm just bringing it up because really, literally almost every streamer or painter that I've heard bring the topic up, it's always, yeah, yeah. Like when you're doing very small details with scratches and textures and whatnot, it does go better to do it with a synthetic, just because you don't have to spend as much time maintaining the tip. Exactly. Yeah, 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 yeah. But where they are usable. I don't know, I keep jumping back and forth and can't really say for sure which is better or worse in terms of performance. It's really case by case basis and case by case brushes. Yeah, maybe. I actually haven't had much experience with like high quality sables. Um, the highest quality sable that I've had is a army painter, and these uh, Citadel shites. So maybe that's why I'm still not on the fence, but like in the neighborhood of wondering. Maybe I should just get a good quality Raphael or something and just stop being a bitch about it. Because by now I've spent a lot more money on bunches of synthetics than I would have had to spend on a couple of quality brushes. I don't know. Love Story and White Force. Okay. Currently waiting on a couple of the Pro Acryl semi-synthetics. So the really, really soft Kolinsky synthetics that they call. I've been using their details, the detail sizes for a while, and now I ordered the bigger ones to see how they feel. I'll be able to give some info on that in case anyone's curious. So I haven't seen them being used outside of Jason's stream. Most people use either the artilleries, which I also use, or the igniters. But no one uses the bomb wicks. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. It's just something that carried over from when I started. I just wanted to try and do things on a budget, and then collecting garbage materials stacked up to the point where I have a lot of useless stuff right now that I'm trying to abuse to the point of making it useless so I can just check it away. Not really innocent that myself, but I've changed over the years. I might get the igniters. They seem to be very decent sables. Yeah. Crooked brushes are very useful for some things. For instance, if you take a look at this guy's sleeve right here, like the underside of the sleeve between the actual sleeve and the flesh, that small angle here is perfect for a crooked brush. So no matter how uh, defaced and brutalized the brush is, it somehow still remains usable. Okay, so this guy was bottom left green. Next guy will be bottom right green. Yeah, so I've heard two things about mitigating hooking. One option is to start painting on the side of the hook. So if it hooks like this in this direction, you paint towards it and it kind of mitigates it and then hooks on the opposite in the opposite direction and then you flip again. And so that way it kind of holds sort of a straight-ish tip. And the other thing I've heard is to boil the tip, just the tip though. Just really quickly dip it in boiling water and straighten it out, and then go for a rough dish soap or or brush soap to give it a form and let it dry. Haven't tried any of those. Well, the first one I did try, and it's sort of okay. Just the tip. For instance, this one I've been using pretty relentlessly for a while, and it hasn't necessarily hooked all that much, considering this is a detail brush. So, I don't know. Yeah, there is a bit of a hook. I don't know. Again, I'm curious to see how the bomb wicks, the larger bomb wicks, will perform. Yeah, exactly. It's sort of inevitable. Yeah, technically, again, that should be something along the lines of the Bombwicks, which is why I really, really want to give them a shot. And I'm feverishly waiting to receive them. They should have been here a couple of days ago, but unfortunately, they are not. Like I said, the so-called Kalinsky Sables, as they are marketed, but you know, they're absolutely synthetic, but they're sort of soft to the touch. Like this is true. This is one of the bomb wicks that I've used today um, for detailing and painting flesh, and well, it was better, and then it got worse. To the point where we are now in a second wave of lockdowns. I don't think most of the major services are affected. Yeah, again, the same thing with bars and venues and uh, social meeting areas. Most like LGSs only operate as gaming stores and don't offer areas for play. Um, but I don't know. It doesn't feel too bad, although I am a fairly isolated case, so I'm not the best person to comment. By isolated, I mean literally. Just function better like this. They were gonna close down the malls. I'm not sure if they did. Haven't really gone any malls lately. Yeah, from Friday evening. Oh yeah, talking about that, I did try to do the rounds for the flyers because I did end up printing them out, and I did not do my due diligence to check which stores were actually open before I went out, and was essentially roaming the streets for about 2.5 hours to only find that only one out of the 6 stores was open. Um, but it was a nice walk. Yeah, the only concern that I have, and that's a very small concern, mind you, is that there might be a chance that Blood Bowl will be made available in the store before I get the flyers out, and I may miss a couple of people that might buy the game, but that's such a small chance, really. That yeah, with the mists, this is starting to be a regular thing with the toxic mists. It started a few years back, I think, like five-ish, maybe 5 years, was it? When we got the yellow mists. Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt it too. That just encapsulated the air, all of the polluted air in the city. Because for anyone not from here, the capital is in a valley, and so actual air circulation and renewal is really hard. Yeah, so that's just what I was starting to say. The city is in a valley, and so any accumulated smog or anything that has particles in it has a much harder time dissipating than it would in a open field, like open area type city. And yes, there is also a lot of heating being performed by burning. So old school um, burner heating. And there are for a few years there have been when it gets cold, we get these mists that make the air very moist, like extremely hydrated, and it encapsulates all of these hard particles, making the air basically close to unbreathable. And there have been a few cases where that even went to coloration. And that's why I say the yellow mist, because it literally was like a yellow piss filter. It was like playing Deus Ex. This year it's a bit less horrible because of the reduced traffic, but it's still pretty bad. Yeah. And weirdly, it started fairly recently, like 5 years isn't that much for such a significant change in climate. Because this wasn't a thing before. And it's also, during the night, it's also creepy as hell. Um, because of the thickness of the mist, A, visibility is reduced significantly, and B, light cannot travel through it. So it refracts within itself, and you literally get these horror movie-like settings with distorted images and light that is like a floodlight, very concentrated beams, because it doesn't dissipate correctly. It's pretty bad. But again, the worst part of it is that it is extremely polluted and filthy, and um, you constantly have to have some sort of filtration device, be it a mask or a scarf, at least something to keep out the hard particles inside of that mist shit. It's usually when it's cold enough to snow, but it doesn't snow. It's this transitory period of the year where you can have condensed mist, but not the spring one, but the autumn to winter one. I don't know if I'm explaining it pretty poorly, but I think you get the gist. Alright, I think we're done here. Yeah, so put in a little bit of work, guys, as well. Yeah, only without the actual good stuff in it, right? Without the nicotine. Yeah, without the fun. Speaking of nicotine, as well take another hit. Alright, guys, so I'll be calling it for today, and like I mentioned, I won't be around on Wednesday, and I'm not really sure if I'll be able to squeeze in another stream before next Monday. I will try, but I really don't know when that will be a thing, because I'm pretty full this week. So, worst case scenario, we will be back online on Monday, the 8th, a day before the end of season 36 of CCL and Blood Bowl. So, we should also have some news regarding the Andy Davo after party. So, until then, as usual, have a lovely rest of your evening, of your day, and of your week. Keep doing what you love and loving what you do. I've been Bachicardio, and I am signing out. So, bye bye, guys, and see you soon.